You still think the Iran war is about misdirection and mind games, that America is playing masterfully, keeping the regime guessing. We don't even know if there are any real talks going on, despite what we're being told by the U.S. government. The regime is attacking in the Strait. The regime is putting out all kinds of provocations online. They are attacking our social media right now, trying to sow division. They seem to be defiant in the face of promised destruction, despite our president telling us they're falling apart, they're desperate for a deal. We are in an impossible situation of whether to believe what seems to be true coming from the worst people or from the United States president. Here is what he wants you to believe.
War with Iran. How long are you willing to wait until you get a
don't rush me. Don't rush me, Jeff. I want to make the best deal. I could make a deal right now. Do you know that if I left right now, we had a tremendous success? It would take them 20 years to rebuild, but I don't want to do that. I want to have it everlasting. You know who's under time pressure? They are. Because if they don't get their oil moving, their whole oil infrastructure is going to explode. They have a matter of days before that event takes place. The problem they have is they are very disorganized right now. They know who the leader is in this country. We don't know who the leader is in Iran.
Now, I think a lot of that is true, except the last piece. And the problem is the last piece matters the most, okay? And I don't believe this is a situation where we're hearing one thing in public, but it's very different in private. I don't think that's true, okay? And except on Truth Social, there is no real indication the regime is offering anything but ultimatums. And that's not because they have the leverage. You know, they're going to lose to the U.S. military, right? It's just that they've never been this relevant. Okay, so here's the proposition. And it's been the proposition from jump, by the way. And that's the problem with what the president was just saying. Everything he was just saying has been true for many, many weeks. That the military reduced their capacity to do conventional warfare and their money flow. But then it's been many weeks since you've gotten anywhere in terms of enriching uranium, and we don't know if you ever will. How do you make a deal with a bunch of zealots who have never kept a deal and who now hate you more than ever? We know what the answer is. The simple answer is you take them out. But that means lots of troops for who knows how long, and there is no will for that among the American people. The president even says to you repeatedly, I'm not here to change the regime. But of course, he also says the regime has changed. And by all indications, he may be right. The regime may now be worse. Maybe the most MAGA among us will buy that the regime is in chaos and disorganized. But if your eyes are open, you see some very scary pieces on the board. The regime is now run by a group of hardline IRGC generals who gave the supreme leader the title, made him their puppet, then hid him away. They decided to close the strait. They decided to attack Israel and the Gulf states. They're the ones saying, here's what we're going to attack next. The internet infrastructure, the desalinization, which would be crippling in the region if they have any measure of success at all. They are the ones making the diplomatic decisions. That's why the head of Iran's negotiating team is not the foreign minister. The IRGC sidelined him and put in place a member of their own ranks, a former general and current speaker. Okay? Now, is there a ceasefire? Kind of. New reports say the IRGC generals have started mining the strait. This comes after they seized 2 ships in the strait. That sounds desperate to make a deal. After the president was briefed about what they were doing, he says, that's it. I told the Navy, shoot and kill any boat in the strait laying mines. Wait a minute. That wasn't the order already? What were they doing? Watching them mine the strait? Why, I did not suspect that the White House would also say that the IRGC seizing 2 ships isn't a violation of the ceasefire. How? How is that not a violation? It seems America is the side playing a game. The question is, how do we win this game, or how do we even get out of it? It took the Obama administration and several other key allies years of back-channeling and formal negotiations to get the JCPOA. And when you looked at the fine print of that deal, it did have serious problems. Inspectors didn't have automatic access to sites. The regime could delay inspections of suspected nuclear weapon sites for 24 days, allowing them plenty of time to hide and to deceive. And that's exactly what we did. Now we don't know that we can even get back to that. Yes, the president is saying his deal will be much better, but he says a lot of things. And many of those things are getting harder and harder to believe, and harder to trust when the most reliable indications of the true state of play are coming from a bunch of terrorist zealots. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.